Hello and welcome back to Gaia's Wisdom Podcast, where today we're talking about Imbolc under a Leo full moon, both happening on February 1st, 2026. First, I want to say that when I was recording the cyclical energy forecast for 2026, which by the way, you can still get inside of the Shift workshop, every month had at least one thing that I got wildly excited about. And February has three of those, or at least three of those. One is a once in 6,000 years kind of huge. One is a disruptive explosion of new. But the one we're exploring today is actually my favorite, and it's a full moon in Leo that aligns with the cross-quarter festival of Imbolc, a celebration of the fertile power of the goddess, of the inner flame, and of life reemerging. It's like, yes, please. And while I love the symbolism and the synchronicity of it all, it does all come with this undeniable rising pressure. Like, there is really something in the belly right now, because that's what Imbolc literally means, in the belly, that needs to get out. There is something rising within us that cannot be contained. And I get these moments during the day when I literally feel like I can't sit anymore because there is something stirring. Like I have this little weird jitters in my lower belly. And at the same time, I am unusually exhausted and really quite incapable of thinking clearly. So it's an interesting combination. But then, it could just be me. Let me know. Okay, first let's talk about Imbolc and the return of life. Now, Imbolc, as I said, is one of the 8 seasonal festivals of the modern Wheel of the Year, but originally it's of Celtic origin. It's the exact midpoint between the winter solstice in December, known as Yule, and the spring equinox in March, known as Ostara. Now, in a calendarized world, Imbolc is celebrated on February 1st, but real Imbolc actually moves depending on the positions of the sun and the moon. Now, in earthly terms, it's associated with lambing season, when ewes begin to lactate again and the first tiny blossoms are pushing through the snow. I saw so many of those yesterday, so Imbolc really is here. Now, as I said, the old Irish translation of Imbolc literally means in the belly, and it's pointing to the immense potential that is barely noticeable at this time, but it's undeniably there, reemerging, working its way towards the surface. In your body, the energy right now is moving upwards on the back side of your body, passing through your sacral energy center or the area of your womb. The womb, where all potentials are held until they are ready to be birthed. After all, Imbolc is a celebration of fertility. Now, the goddess this fertility was originally associated with is Bridget, or the Exalted One, a triple goddess of likely pre-Celtic origin, representing 3 of the core archetypes of the feminine, so the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Of course, as usual, the wild woman is excluded. Again, she rarely gets invited to a party because she makes everyone uncomfortable. And Bridget, she had a way of making people uncomfortable too, especially the church authorities. But she was too fierce, too powerful, and just simply too popular to be erased. So she was rebranded, baptized into sainthood with the arrival of Christianity, and promoted to one of the patron saints of Ireland. Now, she's a fire goddess, and Imbolc is actually all about this sacred flame of hers. But she holds water too, which is a rare trait among deities. And to this day, Ireland is full of sacred wells that are dedicated to Bridget. Now, the water element is the womb. It's your sacral center, your second chakra. But when the energy rises from the womb area, which will happen around the 11th of February, it lights a fire in your solar plexus, which is your next energy center, your third chakra. It's the energy of the sun, just as the power of the sun is also reemerging in nature. And even though the energy is moving in a seemingly wrong direction in the context of how we think about birth, that inner flame is the birth of a new life. It's the birth of your personal power. And with it, the birth of a version of you you've just never met before. And that's the tension that you're feeling right now. There is an enormous amount of pressure in your inner realms, just as there are majestic forces at play under the surface of Mother Gaia. And the inner work you do now will determine what you reap come harvest season. Now, how do you work with this energy? The week after the full moon, especially when the shedding begins and the energy is still passing through the womb area, is ideal for womb clearing work. We don't just hold new potentials in our wombs. We also hold old trauma and suppressed emotions and part of ourselves that we keep hidden in order to stay safe. And new life cannot be birthed while all that is still in there, keeping you tied to the old. So you want to clear it out. And you want to do that before the energy naturally moves into your fire center, before you're called to step into your full personal power, so that once you do, there is nothing holding you back. And so that's what we'll be doing together inside the Wise Way Alliance, which I'll get to in a moment. But first, let's talk about this Leo full moon that wants you to shine your light. So here we have Bridget lightening your inner fire under a full moon happening in a sign that is fixed fire ruled by the sun, which is fire again. And the moon herself is the womb. Okay, so usually I'd say there's something flashy about a full moon in Leo. Some even say it's dramatic because Leo has a rep for his love of stage life and his all eyes on me kind of attitude. But on the other hand, Leo is where we meet the courage to lead from the heart, which is where the energy will be moving to in early March, by the way, and to express the parts of ourselves we've tried to hide in the womb, as we just talked about. But here's the thing, you can't really hide anything under a full moon. When the moon is shining, the shadows come out to play. And in Leo, the best thing you can do is let them. Because Leo is actually a very playful, childlike energy. So give those shadows a voice and a microphone. Or better yet, just let them roar. Now, your voice and your unapologetic expression, which are both Leo's gem, they live in your throat center or your fifth chakra. Now get this. Your throat and your sacral center share a very special bond, not just energetic, physical too. Because when you were hardly more than a speck in your mother's womb, one of your cells separated, and half of that cell became your pelvis, the vessel of your womb, and the other half of that cell became your jaw, or the gateway to your throat. And to this day, they are intrinsically connected. So, how do you work with this energy? Now, okay, that's not where I typically go with a Leo full moon, but with this impeccable timing, it does feel like the moon is coming to help you out with that Imbolc womb work that we just talked about. Because Leo wants you to roar. And as you allow yourself to liberate the words, the screams, and the songs you've stifled in your throat, all that you've been holding in your womb gets released too, which is why neither birthing nor lovemaking are done in silence, by the way. And also, this Leo full moon, that's you. That's you shining your brightest light, standing alone against all the personal planets, plus the Sun and Pluto in Aquarius. So it's the individual versus the collective. It's the heart versus the mind. And however you spin this dichotomy, there is tension here. And you're feeling that tension. But when you can make that tension a collaboration, it all works out for the highest good of all. And everyone wins. At least that's how I'm feeling this energy this time. I'm actually going to leave it here. I was going to talk about something else, but it feels like a beautiful conclusion. I'm just going to mention one more thing, and that's the wise way, which I have touched on before, since we were just speaking of collaboration. So, with the sacred flame of Imbolc, under the light of the full moon, I am opening the portal to the Wise Way Alliance. That's a collective of women who are consciously choosing to honor their true nature, their feminine nature, which has always been cyclical. It's an alliance of women who understand they aren't built to thrive in the linear paradigm of our current masculine-driven reality. So they're changing the paradigm. We're changing the paradigm together. And it's a sacred space for a different way of being. Not just because it gives you clarity and peace and unfuckwithable inner authority, or because it allows your body to exhale into her wisdom and live from there, not from external pressure, but also because it heals the feminine wound of repression, generational, ancestral, millennia of shrinking and staying small just to be safe. And because it co-creates the kind of world I want my daughters to grow up in, and our daughters, and all the daughters to come. So, the portal is opening. There are two ways for you to join. One is through my website. I'll leave the link below for that. The other one is by upgrading to a paid subscription on my Substack, Gaia Cycles. I'll leave the link for that as well. There are two different pathways, but they both lead to the same private portal, the same experience, and the same new paradigm. Oh, and by the way, when you choose the yearly option, you are saving 66% of the full price, because that's how I'm choosing to honor your devotion to moving through the whole entire cycle, which actually takes a year. and 66% because 6 is the number of feminine power. You can also choose monthly. You still get all the benefits anyway. So that's it. If you feel the call, I can't wait to see you on the inside. If not, may this Imbolc and this full moon awaken your inner fire to its fullest extent. And I will talk to you again next week. Bye for now.